Good morning. I'm Dilip Thakore, editor of Education World.
Good morning, I'm Summiya, Yasmeen, managing editor.
This July month, we have a very interesting issue of Education World with a very interesting story. Summiya, you start. Tell me, what do you like about this issue particularly?
I think this is really a content-rich issue, Dilip. One of our best contents we've got in the past 2-3 months. I love the cover story, which is on the declining reputation of CBSE. Very newsy. I like our second lead feature, which is again on a very important issue, which is the Right to Education Act's Section 12(1)(c). I'll tell you about it a little later. And I also love our editorials this time, which is the first one is on the dawn of the Asian century, why India and China should make peace. And our second one, where there's unnecessary gloating among Indian academia about Indian institutions doing well in the QS World University rankings released earlier this month. Why it's not all that great as it seems to be. What do you like, Dilip?
Yeah, I like what you like. And plus, I think we've got also very interesting education news this time. One is, a new report has been launched on the ease of operating private schools in India. Private schools enroll and teach 48% of the children in India, and but they're really put through the ringer to the management, and they're heavily supervised, and life is very difficult for them. So this report has been published by the Center for Civil Society, which is a very eminent think tank, Delhi-based think tank, and it's a voluminous report. And in this education notes, we've given a synopsis of what it is.
I think Dilip, also our education news from Maharashtra is very interesting, because there we've had the NET paper leak, etc. There's the TET, which is there. Teacher eligibility test had to be cancelled because of suspicion of a paper leak. So that's the saga of paper leaks for public competitive exams never seems to end.
Yeah, even Maharashtra is emerging as a sort of hotspot of cheating, corruption in exams, all kinds of exams. So the very interesting story. Then West Bengal, well, the TMC government, which was noted for scandals in education, teacher recruitment, exam scandals, has been ousted, and a new government is coming, a BJP government. But they've also started messing with the curriculum and teacher appointments and generally interfering a lot with the education system. So our story from there is titled "From Frying Pan to Fire." And from Karnataka also, interesting story on the vanishing faith, titled "Vanishing Faith," on this language thing. Children must study the 3 languages, and 2 of them must be Indian languages, whereas English is not an Indian language. So a lot of confusion there. So we've written about that and its impact at ground level. You can pass policies in Delhi, but you must also assess what happens at the ground level. So this is an interesting story there. So moving on.
Yes.
What else do you like?
Dilip, I like all our expert essays this month. I think they're fantastic. Our first expert comment essay is written by Dr. Professor C. Rajkumar, the Harvard, Oxford educated founding Vice Chancellor of O.P. Jindal Global University. And he is writing on why universities should drive the future of India-Japan relations.
Yeah, in fact, it's very good in as much it sort of supports our editorial, which is saying, let's have greater intra-Asian cooperation and not rely so much on the West.
And then I'd like to talk about our second expert comment, a teacher-to-teacher essay, where Mr. Anil Kapasi who's the founder of Aryan Academy, he makes a very strong case for schools and coaching centers to cooperate rather than to compete and to
Yes.
become enemies. He says that uh, coaching schools, you can't wish them away. They are reality now of Indian education. So he makes a case that schools and coaching institutes should cooperate in the best interest of the students rather than compete. I think that's a very interesting viewpoint there. And we've also got a very interesting special essay this time, is titled Factories of Unemployment: Why Universities Need to Adapt to the AI Era. So this again is very interesting. It says that, listen, whatever you're teaching in your universities is going to become outdated very fast. It's already outdated. So you better adapt to the AI era to make sure your students don't lose out in the employment race. So I think expert comment essays, all three of them very interesting, addressing various aspects and challenges of higher education, school education, etc. Dilip, what else do you
Yeah, I
like?
like also the institution profile on Emerald Heights International School. Extraordinary that a school like this should spring up in a place like Indore. Such attention to infrastructure, faculty development, uh, student welfare, mental and physical well-being. It's quite extraordinary. No wonder it's ranked India's number one
Decum
day
board.
come boarding school in our Education World India rankings, which, by the way, is the world's largest school ranking survey.
Dilip, why did you choose to do the cover story on CBSE? I know there's been a lot of controversy on
Yeah.
it, etc. And how did that come about?
Well, I mean, you have to write a story to report on the various scams, scandals, uh, blunders in CBSE because it's India's largest national school leaving exams board. It has 30,000 of India's top ranked, many of them top ranked schools affiliated with the board. So, I mean, all these sort of scandals, lack of implementation capability, etc., blunders, having a ground impact on the children who write the exams and the reputation of the board in terms of accessibility. Everybody is complaining about inaccessibility, including school principals of affiliated schools. And our own case is the same. Whenever we ask them to comment on the chairperson or the director to comment on anything, they are not available. And likewise the minister. It's a curious structure because CBSE is actually a subsidiary of the Union Ministry of Education, and it's very closely connected with the two, which it shouldn't be. It should be an autonomous board, but the Secretary for School Education Literacy is the quote unquote controlling authority of CBSE. The result is that too much interference, lack of autonomy has created all this mess and scandals and shame. So I think that was a very important cover story we had to write. Though of course, we didn't get access as usual.
I also would like you all to check out our people section, which we've done this time on very interesting people doing some fabulous work in education. There's a person who's just started a new initiative called Beyond 8, which is a very innovative high school. Atria University Vice Chancellor, who is also known as the Climate Man of India, the new Arise President, who is trying to build Arunab Singh, who's trying to build very strong partnerships between government and private schools, and a sports education evangelist who has started a special sports program for schools. So very interesting
Yes.
people there. And unlike other magazines, which only education magazines, which only report on first of all, there are no education magazines in India
Worth their while.
worth their while. But even in the newspapers, you don't read much about what's happening about education in the international world. Dilip, there we are very unique. And what do you like about our international
No.
section?
I love our international section because it tells you, what's happening in other countries and how seriously they take education, as in contrast with what's happening in India. And whether it's we have stories from the UK, China, Belgium, uh, Germany, Saudi Arabia, and Australia. Great things are happening there. A lot of movement and activity in education. And we need to know that if we don't pay sufficient attention to education, we are going to be left far behind. Already we are behind, and we are getting the distance between developed countries and us is getting wider. That's the thing to be really alarmed about.
My absolute favorite in this issue is the special report, which is being edited by me, but written by three researchers from Indus Action, which is a Delhi-based policy implementation NGO. And they argue why all schools must respect Section 12(1)(c) of the Right to Education Act. For those who don't know, Section 12(1)(c) mandates all private unaided schools, excluding minority schools, to reserve 25% of capacity in Class 1 for underprivileged children living in their neighborhood. So this provision was challenged way back in 2012, but the Supreme Court upheld this provision. But ever since, there's been it hasn't been implemented rightly, in the sense that first of all, minority schools and boarding schools are exempted. State governments have been lax about implementation. There's also this provision, Section 12(2), which mandates the state to reimburse the fees what they pay in government schools to private schools. So there's a lot of controversy about reimbursement of fees. State governments together with private schools, they've also whittled down this provision. They've changed the entitlement provision in terms of, if you have a government school within 1 kilometer of the child's residence, you can't go under the RT admission quota. But the reason why we've written the story now is the Supreme Court again in January upheld Section 12(1)(c), and it called it a national mission for inclusion. It said that this provision is unique in that it allows the child of a multimillionaire, of a Supreme Court judge, to sit along with the child of a street vendor, of a rickshaw puller. And according to the Supreme Court, this is a national mission for inclusion. We also believe now, since there's no point in arguing about the validity, constitutional validity, it has now been, re-emphasized, reaffirmed by the courts now in several judgments. So schools should respect this provision in the interest of national inclusion, student body diversity, to build a society which is more inclusive.
Yeah, it's also earlier I held the view that maybe this is backdoor nationalization, but now, on the basis of the Supreme Court's latest judgment, I also have had a conversion, and I appreciate that it's good for the schools themselves not to have only the children of rich people in one school, or the children of poor people in another school. It's good for them to integrate so that students learn empathy, compassion, understanding of people from other strata of society. So I've been, on the basis of the latest Supreme Court judgment, where the judges very evocatively say what Summiya just said, that children of multimillionaires, even Supreme Court judges, must share classrooms, at least up to class 8, with children who are less privileged. So it's important for schools themselves, in their own interest, to implement this provision in the RT Act in letter and spirit.
Dilip, you also done a very interesting interview this time with
Yes.
Mr. Pravesh Dudani, who is the founder of Medhavi Skills University.
Yes, it's based in Sikkim, and it's quite Pravesh is actually is a alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and Stanford University, and he's understood that while universities teach degree courses, they should simultaneously teach some skills parallelly to children. And skills education now is turning out to be the Achilles foot of the national development effort in India. So it's a very commendable effort, and we hope that all universities will learn from the example of Medhavi Skills University.
Yes, and as usual, I absolutely love our book section. So this time we got a very interesting book review on the rise and fall of the Chettiar merchants of South India in Tamil Nadu. Very interesting. It links, talks about the rise during the British Raj, and then slowly after independence, how they lost money, they lost their businesses, etc.
Especially in China, and Myanmar and Southeast Asia.
Yes.
Yeah.
And your absolute favorite, Dilip, the postscript page?
Yeah, my favorite is the postscript page, where we talk about a range of issues, not necessarily related to education. So one we've written about, it's a sort of cheeky sort of page. We've written about, minister's comment saying building good roads, not rocket science. We say that eradicating corruption from government is rocket science. Then we talk about the unrelenting persecution of what's his name, Tarun Tejpal, the former editor of the magazine Tehelka. Yes, he has been acquitted by the Sessions Court in Mumbai, Goa, and the government has gone in appeal against that for what we think is a inadvisable and commonplace indiscretion. And the next one is, of course, about the Cockroach Janta Party and the agitation, and Sonam Wangchuk, who's now taken part of it. I think the government, I'm amazed at the obstinacy of the government and the Union Education Minister, that he's not taking notice of the great dissatisfaction of young people and children and youth with the education system. I think the ground is rumbling under his feet, but he's not even aware. Well, that's it from this issue of Education World.
Yes, but before we go, as usual, Parents World, my favorite story there is the cover story, where we talk about how single parenting is a 21st century phenomenon. Rising number of single parent households, especially single mother household. So we've done a very interesting, informative story offering advice on how you can cope with single parenting.
Yes, and then all our usual articles on teaching empathy, use of baby slings for babies, common digestive problems of children, and calcium-rich foods for children. It's very important to understand that Education World is all about learning in classrooms. But learning is not confined to classrooms. It happens at home also. Therefore, Parents World. If the two meld together well, then we're going to have strong, resilient, and well-educated children who are going to lead India into the 21st century.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.